Hello everyone, so I wrote something on Facebook and I said I was going to make a YouTube video answering a couple questions about my exchange in the Netherlands. So I'm going to do that now. I've never really ever made a video with me talking in it, so it'll be a little bit awkward, I'm pretty sure, as I am feeling right now, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, so yeah, I have the questions on my Facebook page, but also I'm gonna answer a few of the ones that I get asked like on the daily here, and then also from a couple people back home that have asked it, but didn't write it on my Facebook page or anything. But first, I'm gonna answer the ones that are on my Facebook page. I'm gonna look at those right now. Okay, so I just got my Facebook page pulled up with the questions, so let's just start from the beginning. This one reads as, what will you answer if your friends at home ask how the Dutch are like? So I have been asked by people back home, like, what the Dutch people are like, and honestly, almost all the stereotypes are true, except for the types of clothes they wear. So they don't wear the wooden shoes, and they don't wear the traditional, like, fancy hats or anything. They are really, really direct. That was really hard to get used to, as people back home that talk to me often will know. Yeah, it's really hard to get used to someone who doesn't care. It's not that they don't care, they just are more direct about it and more upfront about what they think and are not afraid to tell you at all, versus people in America take their time and think about a little bit what they're going to say and try and word it to a certain way so you don't feel what they don't want you to feel and that sort of thing. Whereas Dutch people kind of just let it out there and then hope that it goes across well. I mean, yeah, you just kind of have to ask what they meant if you don't understand it. So yeah, that's sort of how Dutch people are, I guess. That's like the easiest way to describe them. Next question comes from my best friend here, Annalou. Shout out to you. She said best Dutch wife and then put little smirky faces, but that's just because we have an inside joke, so we'll leave that one later. Okay, so what she actually asked was, what is your favorite Dutch word? She asked more questions than that, so I'll just start with this one. What was your favorite Dutch word? My favorite Dutch word is gezellig. It's actually a fun word to say because it has the in it. That was kind of hard to learn, but I got used to it. But gezellig doesn't have a translation in English or basically any other language. A lot of people say cozy, but that's really not what it means, because you don't say cozy in a situation where you're hanging out with a bunch of people and you're having a great time and you just don't want to leave. Like, that is gezellig. But also, you can be gezellig alone, or yeah, really it's impossible to translate. It's just a feeling that you'd have to feel only if you're in the Netherlands and living here. I mean, you can feel it if you're on vacation, but it's really not the same thing as if you were really integrated into Dutch society. Okay, next question from Annalou is, what was your first day of school like? Well, Annalou, you played a big role in this, because my first day of school we had debating, and everyone was talking in Dutch, and I was freaking out because I was like, I don't know what you're saying at all. Yeah, so that was very difficult for me because I thought I had studied very, very well and was doing great, but no, when I get to school it was very intimidating. Luckily, very luckily and very coincidentally, Annalou was in my class, and last year before, she was an exchange student in Finland. So immediately she went right up to me after we split up into groups and said, do you want to work with me? And when she spoke English, it was crazy to me because she had a perfect American accent. So I was blown away and I was like, are you from America? And she's like, no, I just lived in America when I was younger until I was about 9. So it was great because immediately I had a friend within maybe 10 minutes of being at school, so it was really nice. So I appreciate you, Annalou, and we're still best friends to today, so I'm happy about that. Okay, Annalou asked if I like all the biking, and it's sort of a love-hate relationship because biking to school is about, from this house, if I'm really going slow, it's about 15 to 20 minutes. But if I go fast, I can do it in about 10 minutes. But biking, it's really convenient to get anywhere I need to within the city because Europe is really tiny, especially the Netherlands. It's really compact. So if you need to get from point A to point B and it it's not too far, you can bike there, and it's super easy and it's nice, and I don't have to pay for gas. I don't have to really worry about anything except for just biking there. But the bad part about it is the fact that, for example, right now it's raining outside and it's almost freezing. So biking in the freezing cold rain while it's blowing in your face and you feel like you're not even going anywhere because it's so windy is really not fun at all. And those moments are when I miss my car with heating and just being able to not really do anything except for push on the gas pedal or the brakes and then turn, and you're warm and inside and it's really not outside. So yeah, those are the moments I miss. But I mean, I really do like the convenience of biking. I'm going to miss it so much back in Arizona, because in America it's really difficult to bike, I guess, because the bike lanes aren't separate from the street. So you have to bike on the street with a helmet and like really worry about the other cars hitting you because they don't really pay attention. But here, bike lanes are completely separate. They have their own part like of the street. And when I bike to school, it's completely off the street. It's like at least 10 feet away from the street. So like we're completely safe. And yeah, it's just very like its own mode of transportation versus a car and a bike sharing a road is really not safe to me. But I mean, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I mean, maybe I can bike while I'm in university. Who knows, on campus. Yeah. Okay, so this one is from Roma. She's another girl from my school. What's the main difference between Dutch and American high school students? And are we what you expected us to be? Okay, so the difference between American and Dutch high school students? I would really say it depends, because the mentality that most Dutch kids have in my class are to study and work hard. And that's totally fine, because the way the Dutch school system works is you get put in separate levels. You don't really get put, you can choose, but you still have to take a test to see which one you'd fit in. But there's like Fevio, Havo, and Mavo. Those are the main three. There's other ones too, like Fembio. I think that's what I'm saying correctly, hopefully. But I'm in Fevio, so it's the highest. And then that's basically like in America what you would translate to being like honors classes and AP classes completely for all of your high school. But yeah, American kids are a lot more, I wouldn't want to say friendly, because that's not really a good word, but they are more welcoming, I guess. Because Dutch kids are welcoming, it just takes time for them to get used to you before you really fit in. So, for example, it took me about 3 months to make more friends beyond just Analu and her like group of friends that I'm still really close with now. So yeah, that was a little bit difficult. It's not that it was a bad thing, it was just something different, because in America, if you're an exchange student and they hear your accent or anything, they get really excited and they want to talk to you, and they'll invite you to things most of the time, and you immediately have a group of friends. Almost, they may not be like your best friends and they may not stay your friends the whole year, but there are people who want to talk to you and are interested. So it was hard to not have that here, I guess. But it was just something that I shouldn't have expected, I guess. That's probably one of my regrets, is that I kind of expected to be more welcomed, but it's really not normal in any other country besides the US for everyone to be excited. So yeah. Okay, so this next question comes from my newbie. Love you, Cleo. You're my homegirl from Australia. So she asked, what was the prominent reason you decided to pick up and leave your entire normal life? So the prominent reason I decided to do this was because my really close friend in high school, Matilda, she was an exchange student with Rotary, and I had met her at school, and we were kind of friends, and then became really good friends. And then beyond that, it was just like we had an instant connection, and I miss her so much. I mean, currently she's back in Denmark right now, and she came back last summer, so I got to see her, and that was amazing. But yeah, so anyways, she was a Rotary exchange student, and before her, I didn't even think about doing exchange. We had hosted like one French exchange student in our house, and that was just through the school thing for 2 weeks, and I went and stayed with him in France for a summer. So I guess that kind of was the starting point of my interest in traveling and going around the world and seeing everything that I can possibly see or am able to see. But Matilda, she was the one who convinced me to do exchange and to do it with Rotary. So after she left, she had told me, she's like, Cooper, you have to do this, like, or before she left even, she said you should do this, like, you gotta do this, like, you're a good candidate for it. So after she left, I signed up and I went through all the interview processes, and then luckily I got through, and then yeah, I ended up here in Netherlands. Okay, so the next question comes from someone in the Rotary back in Arizona. His name's John. Hi, John. But he asked Dutch culture, like how brutally honest they can be, also cycling culture, and if you get in the way of a bike, you're called a typhus. So he said about the brutal honesty, and I touched on that a little bit ago with the first thing, I think, about talking about Dutch people. But Dutch honesty, it's a real thing, and it's really, really a shock. Like, it's not exactly what everyone describes, because what I heard before I came here was that if I wore something that someone didn't like, they would immediately tell me. No one's ever done that yet, so either I'm wearing really nice clothes, or they just don't do that type of honesty. But it's really strange, because it's almost like they just want, they aren't afraid at all to voice their opinions over anything, like 0% fear at all. So if you, it's not even about what I would say or what I would do, but when you're discussing something, they almost always want to argue with you, and they're not arguing in a way where they're just trying to argue. They're arguing because they really enjoy a good argument. And for me, that's really not difficult to adjust to, but just very, very different, because in America you would never ever purposefully try and argue with people all the time. So I had to get used to that, but it's made me a really great debater. And also, coming from the United States, Dutch people almost always have an opinion over my country, and honestly I don't blame them, because America is in a lot of the media, and it's really prominent for any other culture to see what, or to think anything about our country, really, because a lot of TV shows, a lot of movies, a lot of pop culture things come out of America. Yeah, funny things I've been asked by people who think about America are like, why aren't you fat? Because I'm not fat. So people were really shocked, I guess, that after they heard I was American, they're very confused as to why I wasn't chubby or fat, or at least overweight in some sense. Which I always think that's a common stereotype wherever I've ever been in the world. They don't understand why Americans aren't all fat, which is just not true, because we're really not all fat at all. One person actually asked me if I ride to school on a horse. So yeah, that was a little bit interesting, but I just laughed it off. And yeah, sometimes you get those questions where people, you can't tell if they're being serious or if they're joking, and also it's difficult to tell in Dutch. Yeah, I guess that was probably the funniest one I've been asked so far. And then every single Dutch person, once they find out I'm 18 and that I can vote, then they immediately ask me if I'm voting for Donald Trump. There's no doubt that every Dutch person has asked me this, because every single time I met someone who talks about anything to do with politics that's here in the Netherlands, they always ask me if I'm voting for Donald Trump, because they think it's so funny, because he just is a big idiot. But Dutch people think it's funny to kind of push your buttons, I guess. That's the best way to say it, but not in a mean way, if that makes sense. And I had to learn it wasn't in a mean way, because in the beginning I thought I thought people were kind of trying to be annoying to me, not be annoying, but trying to be rude to me or something. But then I finally had realized, oh, okay, this is definitely not America, this is somewhere else, and they just do that as normalcy here. Like, that's something you do normally, just to kind of tease or whatever. And I finally got over that, I think, in the last couple of months, which is pretty astounding that I'm just now realizing that it was not even anything bad. Okay, I think I've answered all the questions that I've been asked, and also kind of touched on the ones that I've been asked before, besides the Facebook page. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, whoever is watching this. Yeah, so hopefully I'll be making more videos where I talk in it, because my experiences here have been really crazy and really funny, and I really like telling stories about it, so I think I'll start doing that more often. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed.